It's time for a review of stories making the headlines in the papers. And with me in the studio for that are two gentlemen, lawyer and public affairs analyst, Okenna Nebedum, and public affairs analyst, Ambrose Igboke. Gentlemen, thank you for coming this morning for the paper reviews. Well, we'll start with the Daily Times, and the story here, Bauchi governorship poll, court stops the INEC from collation, announcing result. PDP kicks, rejects ex parte order, stopping final collation. INEC complies with order, may seek vacation of order. The Punch, PDP Atiku INEC server shows we beat Buhari with 1.6 million votes. File 5 grounds petition, revisits alleged certification scam against the president. And then we go to the New Telegraph. 5 reasons Buhari should not be president. Atiku, PDP will recover presidential mandate. Tambowal, how EFCC harassed the voters in Sakutu. Daily Sun, witness in Fayoshe's case dead. Obanikoro tells court. Court admits dead man's statement. The Guardian, court stops INEC from collating, declaring Bauchi Guba result. PDP lawyer rejects ex parte order as women protest. And the final paper this morning, Business Day, Access Diamond merger crosses final hurdle as court sanctions deal to unveil new logo. Access shares gain 1.71%. Well, gentlemen, we'll start with the New Telegraph, and the story here says minimum wage. Senate concurs with reps, approves 30,000 naira, and to facilitate the implementation, they are asking for a review of the revenue sharing formula among the 3 tiers of governments. The federal government gets 56%, and the state takes 24%, and the remaining is 20%. But then, will that really facilitate the implementation of the 30%, 30,000 naira rather minimum wage? Ambrose? Well,
the minimum wage is supposed to be reviewed every 5 years.
Yeah.
So it is just a government that don't plan, that we say that they were taken by surprise. We're not even supposed to wait for labor to agitate for it. So it's supposed to be in every 5-year plan, economic plan of the country.
And so there should be plan to see that it is facilitated,
exactly,
or the implementation is facilitated.
Yes. It's supposed to be prepared for, because it's supposed, in the national minimum, it's supposed to be reviewed every 5 years. So we are not supposed to be entering all these brickbats, going to strike and all the rest. And now that it has been approved, I think the government should just go ahead and do it. And for the states asking for review of the sharing formula, I think the states should rather agitate for a kind of constitutional review to devolve some of the powers that are economic powers that are inherent in the federal government. For example, some of the things in the concurrent, in the exclusive list should be devolved to the concurrent list. For example, the ownership of especially solid minerals, for example.
Resources in the state.
Yes, the resources in the state. For example, solid mineral is something we are not tapping into because you need to get approval from the Federal Minister of Mines and Environment or whatever ministry that is in charge. So states are allowed to tap into their natural resources. They won't need even to go to Abuja cap in hand every month begging for money. And until we get there, the revenue sharing formula issue, federal government will not yield anything to the states. They won't.
You think, okay, now you think the
they're already preparing grants for that. They are planning to increase VAT by 50%.
Yes.
Between 35 to 50%.
So
probably.
So so do you think that with the increment of VAT, would that really be an upward review of these salaries, knowing the impact it will have?
You know very well that this federal government has a way, this region has a way of testing the waters. And, you know, with the impact that the increment in the salaries would have on the economy, I would expect that for them too, knowing that all, like you said, all the gimmicks to delay what is already statutory, that every 5 years you increase. And by the time you begin to pay, we will be in the next tranche of the next 5 years. So the politics of taking it away from the statutory bodies that negotiated it according to international labor organizations, and dropping it at the table of the National Council of States, which is an advisory body. and all those politics, eventually, the National Assembly, the lower house, vetoed it by going back to 30,000. And the Senate has now agreed with the lower house. So, if you look at the body language of the regime, they are saying, okay, we've not succeeded this way, so let us, test the waters with trying an increase. It was just said in a forum by the federal FIRS chairman. By the time you see the responses coming up, they may eventually implement that to cushion the effect it will have on them, or to even themselves see much more money with which to pay. But the economic implication also, the inflation and all the concomitant responses in the economy, they'll have to battle with it. Because if you are saying you are given 30,000 and then increasing VAT, you are allowing companies now to reduce their income or their profit margin, but at the same time pushing the payment on the table of consumers by making their services or their goods increase also.
But you know how governors reacted to this, where the 30,000 naira minimum wage at the instance, some said that they couldn't pay, that they could pay perhaps 22,000 or 27 at some point. Do you think that the reactions we'll get from the state governors to this 30,000 naira will have a unified minimum wage?
Like I said earlier, look, if we plan, there was a geometric increase, because from 18,000 to 30,000, of course, it will have a lot of economic weight. But if we are planned very well, they would have had a systematic marginal increase over the years. So every 5 years, maybe increase by some certain percentage, maybe 5% and rest. Then if workers know that every 5 years they get 5% or 10% increase, or 15% increase, as the case may be, they will not agitate much. And then for the governors coming to tell us that they will not be able to pay, I have reiterated in many fora and even now that it is an economic lie by any state governor to say that I cannot pay the 30,000 naira minimum wage. It's a lie. They have the financial resources, they have what it takes. All they just need is their profligate lifestyle should just be cut. For example, there are some unappropriated monies that the governors enjoy called security votes. What is that? So those things, cut down on those expenses. All the largesse you share about, cut down on it, and make sure that your civil service, which are the engine room of your government, they are taken care of. The civil servants are taken care of. So the money spent in politics, in taking care of political aides and political office holders, can as well be pruned down so that the civil servants can enjoy this. So no governor should give us that excuse.
Now there's a penalty of 75,000 to those of firms who cannot pay the 30,000 or who do not implement the 30,000 naira minimum wage. Can penalties in itself really handle issues of violation?
You see, sometimes laws are obeyed in breach in this country. I say that.
Why do you have to sit up and set it up?
He needs to make to emphasize what he's trying to say.
Laws are obeyed in breach. Rather, I want to tell you something. These governors themselves, when they get into office, they come with retinue of aides, and they are not in the same strata. They are not in the same salary structure with the minimum wage categories, and we don't always hear about them going on strike. So, bringing out a penalty against those who don't pay, whether at whatever category, I don't think it will rather make some people will rather breach. And then what is the penalty? Probably a marginal 5%, they will pay it and then owe workers. Except we want to have a
or even sack some people.
Or even sack some people. You can see that there is labor crisis looming.
That's what it is.
And it will eventually end up in court.
So NLC has a lot of work cut out for them. Is that what it means?
Let's see how it goes.
Well, I just hope the NLC will wake up, because they have been sleeping for so many years. And that's why they flip-flop by the government. The government doesn't take them seriously anymore. And because most of the states chapters, they hobnob with governors and politicians and the rest. So they just sit down, people who back and they cannot bite. Therefore, they should just wake up and then take the welfare. That is their primary duty, the welfare of the Nigerian worker. All right.
Okay, Nanebedum Ambrosik-Boke, thank you for your time on the paper review. Well, you're watching TVC Breakfast, and we are streaming live on YouTube. You can connect with us on Twitter using the hashtag TVC Breakfast. Still to come.